when it comes to Tyler the Creator's new album, Don't Tap the Glass, I'm going to be honest and say I found it to be an okay album. I don't think it's his worst album, but I don't think it's his best either. But before we get into that, let's talk about the positives. Firstly, I really enjoyed the production. It definitely sounds really great and polished, and we get a lot of fun energy from this album. And even though I'm not much of a dancer, it definitely has so much of that energy that you kind of want to dance. And I feel like this is nothing new from Tyler. We've had this since Goblin, maybe even Bastard, but I feel like he has made an entire project full of this fun energy, and I will say he succeeded in that. I think from his singing point of view, even though we don't get as much of it compared to his previous projects, what we get is really good, and it's just nice to see that he's still got it from that side of things, as I know he is very self-conscious about his voice, and it's only getting better. His features on this album are amazing, whether it be Pharrell, Yebba or Madison McFerrin. They all do a fantastic job at elevating these songs, whether it just be rap verses or singing just a particular line or taking on an entire song on their own. They really do fantastic job. And then even though Tyler said in the beginning of the album there's no deep shit on this, I would say the last 3 songs are quite deep and I really enjoyed it. And again, that could just be my interpretation, or that is actually him flipping it. But you really see the deep emotional stuff on his last track, as he's talking about his love and the issues he's having at that particular point. I really enjoyed that. He kind of ignored his rule for one particular song. Now, when it comes to criticisms, I do have my fair share. Firstly, I feel like lyrically, Tyler is at his lowest. Not only from subject matter, where it's really just him either talking about being very braggadocious about the lifestyle or mocking his haters. I feel like these subject matters, they kind of get very boring after 2 or 3 songs, and it's quite sad to see that when he is talking about it, he's very limited in his writing. It feels very stripped down and very basic, and it's really sad to see him like this, as if we're going back to Call Me If You Get Lost or even Chromacopia, the way he painted his lifestyle was very vivid, and I really enjoyed that, as you could really imagine the type of lifestyle he is living. Just lyrically, I think he painted a great picture, and so in comparison to on this, it's really a sad sight to see. And not only from a lyrical standpoint do I feel like he fumbled the bag, but on certain hooks he becomes very repetitive, and it's quite aggravating as an audience member. It's not all the songs, I will say, it's only a handful, but it's enough to aggravate / annoy me. Production, I would say, again, majority of these songs are great fun energy ones, but when the beat is not working, it drags. Again, it's only 1 or 2 examples of this. I would also say it's sad that I'd say 2 of the tracks on this album to me sound unfinished, as Tyler is either barely on it or he's completely absent from the tracks. Now, I can understand that Tyler is using his platform to promote these particular artists and get them more views and ears, but at the same time, I'm here for a Tyler the Creator album, not a featuring Tyler the Creator album. Get my point. I will also have to say I don't enjoy the fact that Tyler is somewhat nostalgia baiting on this album. A lot of artists do it, and he's not that bad compared to certain artists who do it, but it's quite sad to see him, of all people, to do it, as I really enjoyed the fact that he always moved forward with each project. But we see him taking drums from a 10-year-old song and putting it onto a new one. We're seeing him using sound effects from an old classic song and then putting on that, or using the same flows from previous and very recent songs. And I have issues with it because, one, it comes off as very gimmicky, but also it takes you out of the moment. At least as a fan like myself who knows these works, it took me out of the moment when listening to new tracks, and that's not what you really want to do as an artist, is to throw your audience off, making them go, oh, I recognise that, because I spent 10 minutes trying to find a particular flow because it sounded so similar to another track. and it took me a while, but I found it, and I shouldn't be spending my time doing that. I should be spending my time enjoying that song. It's kind of like either lazy or nostalgia baiting, and it bothered me. And then lastly is his production, which I have put out there, I do love, but at the same time I feel like some of the songs don't have that unique magic that Tyler Creator always adds. And what I love about his music is it sounds nothing like what's in the mainstream, and his music always sounds so different. No album sounds the same, and yet I feel like on this particular album a few of the songs sound like it's trying to go mainstream, or be in what is currently mainstream, and I feel like he's indirectly, let's say, biting other artists. I feel like one or two of the songs give off a Charlie XCX brat feel. Not having to go at Charlie XCX, I'm definitely not saying it's a bad thing. I just don't like the fact that Tyler is trying to sound a bit mainstream. I like that when he keeps his uniqueness to himself and doesn't try and be someone else. Let's move on to my thoughts on each individual track, starting with Big Poe, which I'm going to be honest and say I found it to be a fantastic track, a great way to open up the album. I really enjoyed, from a lyrical perspective, both Tyler the Creator and Pharrell. I think they both killed it. I really loved this track. The production was very fun and upbeat, and honestly it was very enjoyable. I think it was a fantastic way to start the album, but also it's one of my favourite tracks off the album. We then move on to Sugar on My Tongue, which again, I really enjoyed. It was so fun, so upbeat, very energetic, and I loved it for what it was, and that was a very cheeky love song. We then move on to Sucker Free, and I have my issues with it from the very beginning. Like the intro I wasn't the biggest fan of, and then what it turned into was a very 80s beat, but not in a good way. A lot of my issues with this song stem with the fact that it sounds like a bunch of Tyler the Creator songs melded into one. For example, the hook itself sounds very much like a Darling I type-esque song, which I like Darling I, but I don't like this particular way it goes about that. I also found that a lot of the flows and voice inflections Tyler was doing sound eerily similar to other songs. For example, the opening verse, the way he raps reminded me of the song Corso from Call Me If You Get Lost, and then on his second verse he is rapping, and voice-wise sounds exactly like when he was rapping on a remix of Kendrick Lamar's Hey Now, him calling it That Guy. It sounds so similar. Now I will say there's some saving grace with this song, as I enjoyed the singing element later on the song, but other than that, it's not a song I really enjoy or go back to that much. But then afterwards, I really love the song Mum and Em, from a very simplistic beat which really goes hard energy wise, no drums on it whatsoever, and yet he's able to encapsulate that fun energy, and it really builds up. And then him, from a lyric perspective, really elevates that song as well, and the way it ends of that energy just building, honestly I fell in love with it. And that's why I felt so disappointed when the next song stopped playing with me. The energy just dies off and then slowly builds, but not really. And I think the song is okay, but because of my disappointment of how those two songs went together, how the energy just dissipated from the previous song, like it built up and then it left a lot of reservations and a lot of negative ones at that on this song. Stop Playing With Me is okay from a lyric perspective. It's a bit repetitive in some instances. It's nothing to write home about, apart from a eerily similar lyric to an old Eminem lyric, but apart from that, nothing else. We move on to Ring Ring Ring, which I think is an okay love song. I think the beat, again, I really enjoyed it. It's very fun, very energetic, but I will say the hook is a bit repetitive, but I love the first two verses, but it's the third verse that takes a downward spiral. Not terrible, but just it doesn't have that same feel as the first two had. But I still love going back to this song because it has a fun energy of it. But then we move on to my least favourite track on the album, that is Don't Tap the Glass / Tweaking, where I think many of my issues with this album stem a lot from this song, where The repetition is at an all-time high. It has skyrocketed beyond belief, not only in the verses, which is really unusual, but also in the hooks. It really ruins the song. And what bothers me most is the repetition does damage to the energy that these great beats are building, and so it really is a hard listen for me. But then we move on to the next track, Don't Worry Baby. And now initially I had issues with the fact that Tyler, after the intro, is barely on it, apart from a bridge which you really can't hear. But we get the singer Madison McFerrin instead taking his place as the lead performer on this song. At first, wasn't the biggest fan of that, but upon listening to the song a few more times, I really got into it. I think she was a fantastic element to this song. She killed it, essentially, and she really fit with the great beats surrounding her. Following this song is I'll Take Care of You. Now, again, I was initially disappointed by the fact that Tyler, the Creator, was absent even more so than the previous song, and all we really get is just 5 words being sung as well as a sample being played over. The sample really fits well, the singing really fits well. I also will say I got distracted by the fact of the drums that were from the titular track being placed on here. I think it ruined the moment for me. It took me a while to get into the song. But aside from the fact Tyler's not on here, and I do feel this song isn't completely finished, I still really enjoy it. From a beat perspective, I really enjoyed Yeba's singing. I think that was great. The sample was a hit or miss. I can either take it or leave it. But my main issue, I just wanted more Tyler. I wanted him to either rap on it or sing on it. He would have worked so well on it, but alas. And then we move on to the final track of the album, Tell Me What It Is. And honestly, I really love it. It's not as fun or energised type of beat compared to the previous songs, but I still love it for what it is. And that is just a deep love song where Tyler, like I said, he goes in deep, talks about the life he's living and the love and the fact that he has money but he can't get what he truly wants. And that's really interesting. I really love that. And then the beat, towards the end, it sounds very ELO-esque, and I wonder if that was intentional or if it's maybe an accident. But honestly, yeah, such a great finale of a track. Overall, I think this is a decent project. While it took me more listens to get into it in comparison to, say, Chromacopia or Call Me If You Get Lost, I still think it's a very decent project. I think the idea of having no concept was intriguing to me, and its mission of having fun was definitely a success in my eyes. But also, I will say, from a lyrical standpoint, this is Tyler at his worst, and I really do think tracks 8 and 9 definitely are lacking or sound unfinished from a lyrical perspective. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I think the production on this album is great, whilst I do think it is missing that Tyler, the Creator flair on certain tracks and going for a bit of a more of a mainstream sound in comparison to his other projects. I still love it. I think it definitely stands out, and it doesn't sound like any other project. It has its own sound, even if that own sound is somewhat similar to the mainstream. Is this album good? I'm going to be honest and say I think it's really a decent album. Rating wise, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. When it comes to would I re-listen to this album in full, I think it's a maybe. Right now I've got my favourites, and I think I will stick with them for the time being, but I can see myself going back in a few months' time and re-listen to this whole project, and maybe my opinion of certain songs will change, maybe for good, maybe for worse, you never know. Now when it comes to recommendations, I do feel like Tyler, the Creator's entire discography is worth a listen. Even if you think maybe his earlier work, maybe his first 4 or 5 projects are a bit offensive, I completely understand, but to see the evolution of him, you do have to go from Bastard all the way to Don't Tap the Glass. I think it's a very intriguing evolution in a sense. You do see that. Like on my last review for Tyler's album, I've said what my favourite songs are. I will say he's got a feature verse on the new Clips album, on the song POV. Honestly, it's a great verse, definitely check it out. And if you enjoy that, definitely listen to the entire project. The Clips Let God Sort 'Em Out is a great album. I'm not really familiar with Clips, but I like Pusha T, and I thought that was a really good album, so definitely recommend that. Those are my recommendations. This has been my review for Tyler, the Creator's don't tap the glass. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed, please like and subscribe, but most importantly, thank you and have a nice day.